ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. Yesterday, we stopped at 1.5.26. So we'll just recite that shloka and see the translation. Tatranvaham Krishna katha pragayata manukrahena shunvam manohara ताश्रद्धयामेनुपदं विशृण्वतः प्रियश्रवस्यांगममाभवद्रुचि. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O Vyāsadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedāntists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Kṛṣṇa, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. So before we continue from where we stopped yesterday, let's recap where we are in our journey of relishing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So in the previous chapter, we saw in detail how Srila Vyāsadeva compiled all the Vedic literature. He divided one Veda into 4, and then 18 Puranas, Itihas, Mahabharata, etc. And still, he was not completely satisfied. When he was meditating on the reason for his own dissatisfaction, his guru, Sri Nārada Muni, appeared. And that was the title of our previous chapter, Appearance of Sri Nārada. And our current chapter is Nārada's instructions on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Vyāsadeva. So in this chapter so far, we have seen that in the verses, the first 7 verses, Nārada Muni appears and he inquires to Vyāsadeva, and he glorifies Vyāsadeva. In verses 5 to 7, then Vyāsadeva glorifies Sri Nārada, and then Sri Nārada gives him the 2 defects in his words, that he hasn't glorified Krishna enough, and he has overemphasized of the 4 Purusharth, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So later we saw the 2 categories of literature as well. And from verse 23 to 30, Nārada Muni narrates his past life. So that's where we are. So Nārada Muni instructed Vyāsadeva that he should glorify Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa exclusively, uninterruptedly, and unadulterated. Nothing else but pure Krishna Katha. Because Krishna Katha is very powerful. It can transform people's lives. Now see, when we want to buy something online or in store, what we do is we check out the reviews. What other people who use this product say about it. And when we see that everyone is praising this product, we get convinced to buy it. So similarly, when we give someone some advice, when we give an example, especially our own personal example, the advice becomes very impactful and convincing. So that's what Nārada Muni does. He says to Vyāsadeva, write Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It transforms lives. It transformed my life. And he gives his own example. So that's what our verses 23 to 30 are. Narad Muni's own journey in Krishna consciousness. And when we hear from Narad Muni, who is one of the 12 Mahajans, who travels the whole universe, he is called as the eternal spiritual spaceman in ISKCON. And he awakens the love for Godhead. He is the teacher of pure devotion. In Bhagavad Gita 10.26, Lord Kṛṣṇa glorifies Narad Muni as of the sages among the demigods, I am Nārada. So that's Narad Muni's position. And when we hear from such exalted personality that by simply doing these three things, they themselves attained perfection in their bhakti, we also get faith, the determination in Krishna consciousness. So what were the three things Narad Muni did? He served the Bhakti Vedāntists with his hands. He honored Mahaprasadam, the remnants of the prasad honored by the sages, through his tongue. And the third thing, he heard Krishna Katha from pure devotees through his ears. So previously we saw this verse 10:10:38. This reminds me of that verse. That Vani Gunanu Kathane Shravanau Kathayam Hastau Chakarma Sumanastava Padayornaha Smrityam Shirastava Nivasa Jagat Praname Trishti Satam Darshane Stubhavattanunam Vani Gunanu May my faculty of speech always describe your pastimes. Shravanau Kathayam. May my ears always engage in hearing your glories. Hastau Chakarmasu Manastava Padayornaha. May my hands, legs, and other senses engage in actions pleasing for you. And Smrityam Shirastava Nivasa Jagat Praname. May my head offer obeisances to everything in the world, because all the things are also your different forms. And may my eyes see the forms of Vaishnavas who are non-different from you. So Srila Prabhupada says everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. Rishi Kena Rishi Kesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. This is also from Nārada Pancharatra. So everything, the mind, the body, and the sense organs should be engaged in Krishna's service. This is what we need to learn from expert devotees like Nārada. So let's go back to our verses. Narad Muni is describing his previous life in verse 23. So that in last millennium, he was born as the son of a maidservant. His mother, although she was a Shudra, but she was a very pious person. So she was serving the Bhakti Vedantis during the Chaturmas. And her 5-year-old son also helped her in her service. So here, Narad Muni hasn't described his past life. So I'll quickly share it. So this comes from 7th Canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam describes how Narad Muni attained the audience of Krishna. So the story begins with his previous 2 lifetimes. During the first lifetime, his name was Upabarhana. He was a Gandharva, a singer in the heavenly planet. So Upabarhana had a beautiful voice and handsome features. So that made him very attractive for women. So he became like a playboy. He lost his spiritual perspective. Once there was Sankirtan festival organized by Prajapatis. Prajapatis are the residents of higher planets, and they are responsible for populating the universe. That's why they are called Prajapatis. So they had organized a Sankirtan festival, and Upabarhana, he was also a prominent Gandharva, so he was also invited. So in there, he attended with Apsaras and he glorified the demigods. So Prajapatis were offended because Sankirtan is meant for glorifying the Supreme Lord only. So they then cursed Upabarhana that you are behaving like a Shudra. So you become a Shudra in your next life. So that's what eventually happened to Upabarhana. In the next life, he was born as the son of a maidservant. We're not sure what his name was in this lifetime when he was this 5-year-old son of maidservant. But anyways, the boy's mother was very pious. So once she had the good fortune to serve the traveling sages. So the boy also got the opportunity to serve them. So we saw 3 lifetimes. First was Upabarhana, second was the son of maid servant, and now in this lifetime he is Narad Muni. So let's see 1:5:26. That's where we stopped yesterday. So I'll again read the translation. O Vyāsadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedāntists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Kṛṣṇa, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. So it's interesting to note that in this verse 26, Narad Muni makes this point that through attentively hearing, my taste for hearing increased. When we see it, verse 27, he says that because of that taste, my attention in hearing became unflinching. Shravasya skhalita. So that's how bhakti is. It's like a circular progress. Hearing, taste, hearing. So in material world, our progress is like this. The graph goes up, up, up. But in bhakti, it's a circular process. Hearing gives you more taste, and then from taste, you want to hear more. Tatran vaham Krishna katha pragayata. Pragayata. So singing. So singing what? Krishna katha. So the sages were constantly discussing Krishna Leela. Now by their mercy, their anugrahena shrunavam. This boy will sit and hear Krishna Katha. So these sages were infected by a disease, a very desirable disease. The disease that is the goal of life, Krishna Prema. So this 5-year-old boy, he gets infected. He gets infused by the same disease because he associated with them. So we often hear that association is very significant. It shapes one's personality. It is said that you are an average of five people you associate with. If I don't know you as a person, but I know 5 of your friends, it's easy to imagine what kind of a person you might be. So let's go back to the point. Hearing is equal to attraction. So Rukmani had never seen or met Krishna. She just heard of him and she was attracted to him. And same goes for Prahlad Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami, and the Brahman Patnis. So all these episodes we will see in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as we go along. So they all developed attraction for Krishna just by hearing about him. Because that 16-year boy, he is like that. Everyone must have heard this. Adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram hasitam madhuram hridayam madhuram gamanam madhuram madhuradhipaterakhilam madhuram. So sweet. So everything about him is so sweet. So why would someone, by hearing about him, why would they not be attracted to him? So later in the verse, we have this word, Manu Grahena Shrunavam Manohara. Manohara. So his glories are Manohara. Manohar means they steal the heart. When we sing the Chaurastakam by Bilvamangal Thakur, we say Chaurakraganyam Purusham Namami. So he's the Chaurakraganya Purusham, the topmost thief. And he can steal anything and everything. We say Shri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navambuddha Shyamalakanti Chauram padashritanam cha samastachauram chauragraganyam purusham namami. So he steals Srimati Radhika's heart. He steals the dark luster of the fresh rain cloud. And he steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take his shelter. So that Purusha, the foremost of thieves, Chor Agraganya Purusham, to him I bow down. So when a devotee hears about him, like Narad Muni, Priya Shravasyanga, Mam Abhavata Ruchihi. So Narad Muni developed Ruchi by hearing about him. And then when a devotee hears about him, what does he want to do? We sing in Chaurastakam, Dhanam cha manam chathatendriyani pranam charitva mama sarvameva palayashe kutra dhrito dhyachara tvam bhakti damnam simaya niruddha. O thief, you have stolen my dhanam, manam, and indriyani, my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything. Now where can you run to? I have now bound you with the rope of my devotion. So that's what hearing about Krishna does. One wants to capture him in the heart. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:29-11, Krishna himself says, Madhura Shruti Matrena Mayi Sarva Guhashaye Manoratir Avichina Yatha Gangam So just by hearing Krishna's pastimes, devotee's mind will run towards Krishna. Like Ganga, the river, it naturally flows towards the ocean. So it doesn't matter how many mountains or trees or hills are on the way, somehow Ganga reaches to the ocean. So similarly, even though there are many material conditions, the obstacles, the devotee wants to run towards Krishna helplessly and effortlessly because he has ruchi, the taste. So this taste is called ruchi, which is the 9th stage of bhakti. You know, when we were in chapter 2 of first canto, we saw the progressive stages of on the path of bhakti. So once ruchi comes, the next step is asakti, firm attachment. So in verse 25, we saw that the boy accepted uchishta. He was serving the Bhakti Vedantis. He was cleaning for them, washing for them. And when they finished having the prasad, he would ask them politely, can I have the remnants? See, there is a word in verse 25, it says, anumodito, only by their permission. So he would ask them if we could have their remnants. In verse 24, we saw the word kripam. So that's the first stage of bhakti, shatam krupa. Some devotee puts seed of bhakti in our heart. And by their krupa, their causeless mercy, we go to the next step, which is called Mahat Seva. And that's what Narad Muni did. He was serving the sages. So let's not forget that the sages were only there for 4 months, not for a long time. So just in those 4 months, gradually, Narad Muni, a 5-year-old boy, he progresses on the path of bhakti. How? Just by accepting the remnants. So what happens when one has the remnants of food from these exalted personalities like the sages? The second line in verse 25, if you have a look, it says, Tadapasta kilbishaha, Tat apasta kilbishaha. So all my sins were eliminated. So that stage is called anartha nivritti, which is 7th stage on the path of bhakti. So all the sinful tendencies are gone. and the heart is purified. So that's what happens to Narad Muni. In verse 25, we see the word Vishuddha Chetasa. So, when someone comes to your home and you offer them an asana, a chair or a seat, but if the seat is dusty, you need to remove the dust first. So similarly, if you want Krishna to come and sit on the asana of your heart, the sinful tendencies have to go. So that is called Anartha Nivritti, seventh stage on bhakti, on the path of bhakti. And next stage is Ruchi. So that's what Narad Muni is saying, he developed Ruchi. In verse 26 and 27 both, he uses this word Ruchi, the taste in Krishna Katha. So when the heart is pierced by the narrations of Krishna's when the heart is pierced by the narrations of Krishna's Nam, Roop, Gun and Leela, his names, forms, qualities and pastimes, you know, that's what Ruchi is. One develops taste in Krishna Katha. So there is said to be a bird. It's called Chatak Pakshi. Chatak Pakshi only drinks water that drops directly from the clouds, right in his beak. Nothing else. If no rain, he doesn't drink water. So that's what Ruchi, the taste in Krishna Katha does. Srila Prabhupada calls it the higher taste. So then once one has this higher taste, he cannot enjoy anything else but Krishna Katha only. So, before we all were sincere to Bhagavatam, we all watched movies and Netflix and everything. We spent time on Facebook, etc. But now, even if we go to Netflix, within few minutes, our mind is singing some shloka and we are telling ourselves, what am I doing in this Vasaya Tirtha, the pilgrimage of crows? So let me go back to my Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So that's what happens by constant hearing. So we're going to see in our coming verses how this Ruchi, the taste, takes Narad Muni to the next stages in Bhakti, which are called Asakti, Rati, the Bhav, and Prema. In the second chapter of first canto, when we were looking at these stages of Bhakti, we saw a shloka, Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataham Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. The mind is enlivened in bhakti and one realizes Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. So Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada calls it, is a Vijnan, the science of self-realization. It's a realized scientific knowledge of the absolute truth, which is a person, the supreme person, Krishna. So once one reaches there, there is only one step remaining, darshanam, the vision of the Lord. So the realization follows prema. So later we'll see that in this lifetime only, as Narad Muni, he did have the vision of the Lord. So all these stages of bhakti, they are given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So I thought, when I saw these verses, I thought Narad Muni is a nice example of his progress on this path of bhakti. So that's where the verse 27 takes us. Tasmin tadadlabdha rucher mahamate Priyashravasya skhalitamatirmama Yathahametat sadastvamaya Pashyemahi brahmani kalpitam pare. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching, and my taste developed. I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Does anyone want to read the purport, please?
I can read, Mataji. Is it okay?
Yes, please, Mataji, go ahead.
Ignorance in material existence is compared to darkness, and in all Vedic literatures, the personality of God it's compared to the sun. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. Hearing of the Lord's pastime is itself transcendental association with the Lord, because there is no difference between the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. To become associated with the supreme light is to dissipate all ignorance. By ignorance only, the conditioned soul wrongly thinks that both he and the Lord are products of material nature. But in fact, the personality of Godhead and the living beings are transcendental, and they have nothing to do with the material nature. When ignorance is removed and it is perfectly realized that there is nothing existing without the personality of Godhead, then nescience is removed. Since the gross and subtle bodies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, the knowledge of light permits one to engage both of them in the service of the Lord. The gross body should be engaged in acts of rendering service to the Lord, as in bringing water, cleansing the temple, or making obeisances, etc. The path of Archana, or worshipping the Lord in the temple, involves engaging one's gross body in the service of the Lord. Similarly, the subtle mind should be engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, thinking about them, chanting his name, etc. All such activities are transcendental. None of the gross or subtle senses should otherwise be engaged. Such realization of transcendental activities is made possible by many, many years of apprenticeship in the devotional service, but simply attraction of love for personality of Godhead, as it was developed in Nārada Muni by hearing, is highly effective. Bhakti Vedanta purport ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. We'll look at the word to word. Tasmin, it being so. Tada, at that time. Labdha, achieved. Ruche, taste. So we again have this word ruchi in this verse. Mahamate, O great sage. Priya Shrava, see, upon the Lord. Askhalita matihi, uninterrupted attention. Mama, mine. Yaya, by which. Aham, I. Etat, all this. Sat asat, gross and subtle. Swamayaya, one's own ignorance. Pashye, see. Mai, in me. Brahmani, the supreme. Kalpitam is accepted. Pare, in the transcendence. So it's 6:59. I think we will stop here, and tomorrow we will see what points Srila Prabhupada has made in this beautiful purport, and how Nārada Muni has the audience with the Lord. So thank you all for listening and attending this morning Bhagavatam class. Thank you so much. And if there is any feedback or comments, please let me know. And yeah, you can private message me and let me know. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.